X percentage should go to my car, X percentage to my home, X percentage to food, X percentage to clothing, and so forth. Start with that. And then what you can do is try to match what you are spending to these categories. See if you're out of alignment, right? So you're not building a budget first. You're just matching it to one that somebody else has already sort of made for you categorically.
Okay.
If you see that your spending is way out of alignment, now you have to address behaviors. Do I have to figure out how to make more money because I'm just unwilling to change? Do I have to figure out how to alter my spending habits in order to get into the budget? And there is flexibility in there. Like maybe 30% goes to housing, but you're only spending 20%. That frees up more money to go elsewhere. But if you're spending 40%, then you have less money elsewhere. You have to figure out how to make the budget balance. The thing people forget is they forget to save for the future. They save last. And if you pay yourself last, you'll be the last person to ever get paid, which means you don't get paid. You need to save first and then live off of the rest. So pick a percentage and do that. Use retirement plans at work if you've got them available to you. Get some emergency savings in place. This is the stuff that guy out there, you maybe have heard his name before, that whole Dave Ramsey crowd.
Mm-hmm.
They preach this stuff and they actually do a really good job if it's not a natural proclivity for you, right? If you're not a natural saver, like to savers, this is pretty easy because they don't like to spend the same way. But if you're a spender and not a saver, he's got some systems that are just rock solid for helping you develop those initial habits. The envelope system for budgeting is really effective. Not saying it's fun. That's not what I'm saying. It's really effective. But start with that because what it'll do over 2 or 3 months, if you just go through the discipline of categorizing what you're doing, and Matt, I think this is what you said earlier in the last segment. You said categorize what you're spending, figure out where it's at, track your expenses.
Yeah, that's the spot to start. Before you ever start trying to actually create a budget, track it so that you know where you're at. And naturally, if you see, oh, wow, 55% of my spending is in this area, and you know that, what are you naturally going to be more careful on spending in the area that you're overspending in?
Yeah, if you're really looking to change. For the person, well, if you do a budget, you're probably really looking to change. The people that don't want to change, they're just like, I don't want to do that. It's too painful.
So we just praised Dave Ramsey a little bit. Now, what about Dave Littlejohn? So Dave Ramsey, are we jumping too far ahead in the show here?
We're jumping a little ahead, but it's a good teaser. We're going to come back to this. Dave Ramsey's got some great advice, but not all of it is stuff that I am going to subscribe to. Different reasons for it, okay? So stick with me on this. We don't hate Dave Ramsey.
Right.
But we're going to call him out on a couple of things where we go, hey, careful, bro. I'm not sure that advice is that strategically sound. You're going to start introducing too much luck into the formula and not enough math. Okay. So hang on. We're going to get there.
Okay. Let's walk me into kind of how this develops.
So we've talked about the budget.
Right.
Okay.
What's the next piece?
Well, the last piece of budget is you've got your actual and your aspirational budget. The thing about retirement, especially if you've got years to go, is you don't have to say that I need to maintain the life I have right now. You can say, this is the life I'd like to have. My budget categories would look like this. And then you can design toward that if you have enough time.
Yeah.
This is where you hear planners say, look, had you come to me 20 years ago, we'd have had lots of options. You're coming to me with 2 years until retirement. That field of options is going to narrow a lot because you're not going to be able to pull that many levers and change that much. So we're going to be designing a retirement to fit the resources you have rather than designing a way to accumulate the resources to build the retirement that you were hoping for. Okay. Now, a lot of people, they're not hoping for an exotic retirement. They just want to maintain the lifestyle they have. Cool. That's cool. All right. So I'm not judging that one. I'm just saying your option set shrinks the longer you wait. That's why it's better. If you don't know how to do it, get help now, right? You could hire somebody to get help, become proficient to do it yourself, and then take over. That is even possible. So
seen that. I feel like we've seen it all at this point.
You see all the kinds. You take enough laps, you see it all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you've figured out what you're going to spend kind of per month. Then you can multiply that by 12, you get a sense of how much you're going to spend for the year. You got to do a little mechanics about going to back the taxes out. What's the next thing they can do, Matt? Hint, talk to me about Social Security.
Optimizing around it?
Not optimizing. Why do we have to consider it? What does that mean?
I mean, I mean, the government is handing you money, right, every single month, and that number can change. They can cost of living adjust it, and it's just another one of those buckets of money that funds your lifestyle.
That funding the lifestyle part game. We need to consider, do you have pension income? Do you have
Mhm.
rental income? Do you have income that's going to consistently show up that is going to help fund your lifestyle? Because if you do, the nest egg requirement is going to shrink.
Wouldn't you say that a lot of the plans that you've done over the years, the most successful, like, people that come out of this are the ones that have multiple different income streams, where it's like you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, where it's like, well, if this one thing goes away or fails, the whole plan implodes. I've noticed, like, at
Yeah,
least from what I've
I
seen.
really like the question.
Yeah.
Well, you know why? Because it implies that one way is successful, more successful than another. It's great if you've got pensions and social security and other income streams,
Yeah.
but not everybody's going to be in an environment where pensions are an option, right? A lot of the private sector, that's not going to be available to them.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I don't want people thinking, "Oh, great, so I'm kind of got a strike against me already." No, you don't. It's what it is a different mechanism to achieve the same outcome. So I like the diversification. Like a pension's great because somebody else has to manage the risk,
Hmm.
and that's kind of nice. Unless they blow it, right? If they don't do the job right, that's a different problem. Right? Hey,
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have a pension, and they screwed it up, and now the pension's underfunded. We got a problem.
Yeah.
Ask United Auto Workers about 15, 20 years ago when we went through 2008 and we hit the fan with the the meltdown and GM was going bankrupt and they were trying to figure out how union workers that had worked and been promised this benefit, they couldn't afford it. What were they going to do? It was a mess, right? So pensions are only as good as the guarantee behind them.
Right.
Government pensions tend to be pretty solid because they're backed by a printing press.
I guess the harder thing, I guess, is from the planning perspective. When all there is say like an IRA and Social Security, it's like, well, my option set on how we get creative around taxes becomes kind of
Oh yeah,
constrained.
there's
You know what I
way
mean?
fewer levers to pull
Yeah.
there. Although the truth of the matter is between Social Security, especially in Oregon doesn't tax Social Security, which is nice, but depending on how much income you have, feds may tax some of it, and um, all of the other tax deferred buckets behave the same way. Whether it's a pension, it's income,
Hmm.
right? Oh, it's an IRA distribution, it's income. It's 401k distribution, income. 403b, income, right? Roth IRA, aha.
Yeah.
Has it been alive for 5 years?
Or
Maybe
the
tax
Roth
free.
or the Roth 401k stuff that I've
Yeah.
seen. Like that's been a powerful tool, and a lot of people don't even know sometimes when it's available.
Yeah, that was controversial to me.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into it, but let me just put it this way. If you're doing a Roth 401k because you're ineligible to do a Roth IRA,
Hmm.
why would you be ineligible for a Roth IRA?
Because your income's too high.
Your income is too high, which means you're not getting a very valuable tax break
Hmm.
on that Roth because you're putting it into a 401k still in the highest tax bracket. So he'll turn some of it into tax free. But the only reason that would be, well, not the only reason, one of the primary reasons it would be valuable in the future is because you expect your tax bracket to remain very high.
Right.
And most people, their tax bracket drops at retirement.
Yeah.
So that's why it's controversial for me.
That's an interesting take. I
Yeah.
like it.
But let's get back to the question. We've now kind of established, and let me tease it this way because we're kind of up against the next break. So let me tease it this way, Matt.
Yes.
Dave Ramsey and I disagree about something.
Hmm.
Okay, we disagree about how much money you need to have to safely fund a nest egg.
Okay.
Okay, so
Do I get to be the tie-breaking vote? Is that what you're saying? Like you've got your vote, Dave Ramsey's got his, I'm the tiebreaker.
let's do this. We're going to go to break.
Okay.
We're going to let Matt be the tiebreaker, but I would like to make the case before you decide.
Okay.
Okay, gang.
I'll be the judge.
Stick around. We're going to figure out which Dave's take do you want to take? on how much you need to retire. Dave Ramsey or Dave Littlejohn?
Okay.
Stick around. I'm Dave Littlejohn.
And Matt Dixon.
And you got True Wealth on News Radio 92.9 FM and 1240 KQEN.
I love it.
Okay, we are having fun.
Audio's working apparently.
Yay! The other camera's the magic.
I toggled to AMD audio device, which I've never had to use before. So I don't know if it's picking up.
That means it's the onboard audio.
That's what I'm thinking.
Probably working.
But it's picking up really high from you, which it shouldn't. It should be. So let me test some.
Test. No, they're pretty similar.
Test.
Oh yeah, you're hot.
Yeah, so it is picking up the mics, but that's weird. Haven't had that issue before.
So I have been building an AI server behind the scenes in OpenClaw. You don't have to know what that means. Just know that I'm a nerd, and this is really interesting. Don't worry, all of you compliance wonks out there. Everything that Alfred touches is outside of the client ecosystem. He has his own sandbox. What he helps us do is grind through investment research, always with an audit trail, and interesting marketing stuff. And we've been training him to review the raw video footage and then help us find stuff for YouTube. You guys will tell me whether or not it's working, but it's kind of a novel project. So anyway, and why Alfred? I don't know. Everybody names their AI Jarvis or something. I'm like, well, I mean, Jarvis is cool, but I liked Batman before I liked Iron Man. So chose Alfred, whatever. So I still haven't shared with you the hack on this one, Matt.
Okay.
It's really kind of crazy too. Between these two, should I do this on air though? Should I wait and share the hack with you on?
Yes, you should.
It's like
Don't
we got to
spoil
pick the
it.
number for, because we have to talk about how much. Like, there's a number. Great. How much should you save? That's the next thing we're going to talk about.
Okay.
In the financial planning strategy, like
all the dollars
you have the number. And so by the end of this, we will have taken you through. We'll take in a whole radio show, right? So we'll spend 45, 50 minutes doing it, but we will have taken you through what you would go through building a financial plan. So far, what have we done? Discussed the theory behind the budget. And now we're establishing that you need to look at the different income streams. That's going to come back. Next, we're going to talk about selecting a nest egg. And then once we've designed the nest egg, we'll talk about how you're going to match that up investment-wise. And then how you're going to incorporate other income streams. And then the last gotcha, man, I'm setting you up for this, so don't forget it. Don't let me forget it.
Okay.
Irregular items in your plan. Extraordinary expenses. That trip to Europe. The roof on the house or the paints. That stuff. Okay. Welcome back to the True Wealth Radio Show. Dave Littlejohn in studio with
Matt Dixon.
All right, gang. Remember this show today, how much money do you need to retire? We're not giving you the number. We're giving you the process of how a financial planner would typically break this down and help you decide. So if you are going to listen to the entire program, and then you can throw it in Notebook LM or something and say, summarize this for me because it took too long. Okay. Then you're going to kind of have a roadmap to approach this. Okay. The reason that I keep using the soft language is because somebody goes, you should do exactly this. And I said, well, I gave you a framework. You're going to have to use it appropriately. Tools in the wrong hands can still create adverse outcomes. How's that for a disclosure?
Yeah. I mean, if you got a hammer, doesn't mean that you're going to actually drive a nail. You might smash your thumb.
There you go. Okay. Let's get to the question. Everybody's waiting for us to get to the point of Matt. Somebody's got Social Security, maybe some pensions, maybe some annuity income, maybe they got rental income, but they still need to fill the gap. They have a budget of X number of dollars per month that they need, and they don't have enough income streams to do it. They need a nest egg to plug the gap.
Right.
And my question to you is, after all of this hoopla, how big of a nest egg do they need?
Well, do you have a magic equation that people can use where it's like, well, take this amount of money, times it by this, and now you're okay?
Well, here's the fun. Do you want Dave's equation or Dave's equation?
Well, see, what I want you to do is make your case. Because remember, I'm just a judge, right?
Okay.
You make your case for what you think it should be. And then talk to me about where Dave Ramsey stands. And then at the end, I will make a verdict.
I have sad news for Matthew. I'm about to throw a curveball at him and he's not going to see it coming.
Ah,
There's a third option.
move
It's
to
not-
Puerto Rico.
Not on your notes. Oh no, this is going to be
Okay.
the best. Okay. Traditional, conservative way to figure out how much to save. I'm going to give you the hack and then I'm going to explain why it works.
Okay.
Take your annual income that you need and don't do it after taxes. Do it before taxes because you're going to have to pay taxes.
Okay.
And multiply it by 25.
Okay.
Okay. And that's your number. So if you need $100,000 a year, 25 times 100,000 is $2.5 million.
Okay.
And you go, that seems like a big number. I go, yes, it does. And by the way, option 3 is going to make this even more relevant because what I'm really explaining to you is something we call the 4% rule. If you take 4% of your nest egg out each year and then allow the growth in that nest egg to recover over the course of the year, the theory is that this money should last not less than 30 years. And this has been studied a lot because it matters if next week the markets crash.
Right. Say the
Okay.
markets drop 20%.
20%, it changes your financial calculus.
Yeah.
So the idea is that at 4%, not a fixed number, 4%. So you were taking out 4% of a $2.5 million portfolio, it's $100,000. The portfolio drops to $2 million. You don't take $100,000 still. Actually, believe it or not, in the original case, you still can. It's like you get to you don't have to drop the starting value.
Right. You can always
the 4%
just take...
never goes up until the account exceeds the original value.
So you're saying it's not a static 4. You're saying that
Yeah, I am saying that. It's 4% and you look at it once a year. So if you had $2 million and next year you have $3 million, you can take 4% of $3 million out the following year. By the way, earlier in the program, you said, what about inflation? This is how the inflation gets factored in. You don't have to get that cute with it because you automatically get a raise. If the markets are going up, they're typically reacted to inflation. That's why it gets sort of built into the equation. And so this is a really conservative number. By the way, if you're really mostly taking out just the interest you're earning every year, your nest egg never gets depleted. And some people go, wait a second. My plan is to die with nothing left. I don't need to leave anything to anybody. I'm going to spend my last cent.
And we talked earlier about how a lot of this can be based on how your investments do. But you're saying even if, you're using pretty conservative style investments, if you're taking 4%, it's pretty hard to break.
It's pretty hard to screw it up because you're limiting, if your account shrinks aggressively the next year, you have to reduce your withdrawals. But if the account grows, you give yourself a raise.
Yeah.
So you're just taking 4% of the value. So that works pretty well. Hard to break it, even with an aggressive sequence of negative returns.
Yeah.
Because the portfolio, you're leaving enough to recover. But that's not very satisfying to a lot of people. So enter Dave number other, right? You had the Dave Littlejohn one of, well, that's 4%. Then you have the Dave Ramsey version who says, actually, you should take closer to 8% out. He's been on air saying, take an 8% withdrawal rate because the historical return of the stock market's 11%, and you're going to get 3% to protect you from inflation, and 8% is coming and going. You'll be fine. We did some testing on this, and the probabilities are not nearly as attractive. You take 8% out, and you go through a period like 2008 where the markets melt down. You actually could get to a point where if you don't reduce your spend. Remember in the first year, I said you don't have to go below your starting value at 4%. So if the markets go down immediately, you keep the 4%. If you do that with the Dave Ramsey method, you may deplete your money. It won't last 30 years or longer. And the probabilities go up pretty quickly if you have a bad sequence of returns.
Speaking of probabilities, I did a little bit of math because I knew the 8% Dave thing that you mentioned and your 4% Dave thing
Okay,
that you're
so
mentioning.
tell me the math.
All right. So what's interesting is if you look at like, hey, you live for 30 years after retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pull at 8%, like what Dave Ramsey is talking about, even if you have your money 100% in stocks and you're being aggressive and trying to get, higher returns, the failure rate on that where you run out of money is actually like 56%.
Yeah.
So more often than not, you actually do run out of money if you pull 8%, which that's wild to me to think that like, wait, so this is like you have like basically a 50-50 chance of making it?
Okay. Well, now let's before we throw him under the bus, let me throw a couple of factoids at you real quick.
Okay.
Remember, that says what's the probability of it lasting 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If most people retire at full Social Security retirement age of 67,
Yeah,
most people don't make it 30 years.
that's true.
Okay. So it doesn't have to go 30 years. But if you
people are
retired at
living
50,
longer. Yeah.
it's a different game.
Yeah.
Making it to 80 is not so outrageous. So there's some hedging to this.
Sure. There
Okay?
really is. There really is.
And so this to me is interesting because now we've got two different schools of thought, right? There's the
Mhm.
really ultra conservative, the numbers say you have there's never a zero chance.
No.
Right? Investing involves risk, past performance is no prediction of the
But that
future, all
30,
that stuff.
but the 30-year success rate withdrawing at 4% is almost 100% success rate.
It's really, really high. It's statistically very significant, like more than 2 standard deviations.
Yeah.
You're likely to have this work.
Yeah, very, very
Okay?
likely.
And the
yeah.
math makes a lot of sense. It would get really pretty ugly. Like
Mhm.
the economy's kind of collapsing. And if I often remind people, if the economy's really collapsing, we have much bigger problems. If we're going into sort of a recessionary downward spiral that becomes depression,
Or
that's a
deflation.
different animal.
Yeah.
And that you could see it in some countries, by the way.
Mhm.
If your population replacement level goes below replacement level,
Japan's kind of
Japan, China's kind of there right now. A lot of Europe, they're just not having enough babies. That's not a good way to sustain your economy.
No,
You
and
need to have the generation behind you that's continuing to do things. Japan has tried to solve a lot of this with robotics and automation, but it's still a lot of economic pressure.
it is.
So-
It's a ton.
There's a third option. I'm going to surprise
Yeah,
Matt with
I was
it.
going to say this isn't in the cliff notes. What's
It's
the third
not a-
option?
So, just so
Selling
you can watch
organs.
Matt's tap dance, no, you don't sell your organs. You sell your neighbor's organs. No, I'm kidding. All right, stick around. We're going to grab our last break. When we come back, the third option. You heard the 4% rule,
Uh-huh.
the 8% rule. We're going to talk about the rule that you're probably really interested in. So
Okay.
stick around. We'll be right back. And I still got to convince Matt that the third one is the best one.
Okay.
All right. I'm Dave Littlejohn.
And Matt Dixon.
You got True Wealth on News Radio 92.9 FM and 1240 KQEN. Okay, just for Matt's benefit, we're still live on like the live stream,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not live on the air, right? They're playing the ads, they're doing the station's got to stay open, right?
Mhm.
Because apparently we are not paying enough for this spot. Although we do attract their advertisers. That's not bad. So, Matt, if you had to guess what the third option is, what is it?
The 6% rule. Split the difference.
That's a great guess. No,
Hmm.
you're going to love the answer.
Tax fraud.
No, if you can love that answer. Just
Dang.
implicate yourself live.
Let's see.
He's like, I think I'm going to lie. No, tell the truth. How about tax fraud? Oh,
I tried the organ harvesting. You didn't like that one.
well, I got an extra kidney. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just less valuable when you're older. So here's the reason you're going to like it is because it's so advisor driven.
Am I gonna like it?
Matt's
What if I
kind of an
hate it?
ABC guy, right?
What
Matt's
if I
the always
hate
be
it?
closing guy. Here's what happens. It's a variable rate of return. It's responsive to what the market gives while putting in place some minimum expectations. So you're actually hybridizing and saying, here's your base level. And if the markets perform here, we can recalculate and raise it.
So
And
on
it
good
also-
years, we're doing 8, and on bad years, we're doing 4.
Well, it's more like in go years, we're doing 7 or 8. And then as we slow down, we reduce it, right?
I'm not slowing
years
down, though.
the years 60s and 70s, that's still,
But you're
Pretty
assuming
go.
someone slows down. What if I'm not slowing down?
I am yet to meet. I mean, there's the person that they say is running
Dude,
marathons at 90.
my-
I don't know them.
My grandpa's the perfect example. He was in Europe at 93, 92.
Welcome back to the True Wealth Show, where
Yep.
Matt and I are about to slug it out for the last segment here.
I'm ready.
Matt, how big of a nest egg? Remember, we talked about retirement today. How much does it take? We said we had to include cash flow streams like Social Security, pensions. If you own real estate that's paid for, maybe that's supplementing you, right? There's a lot of ways that you can have income. You also, we're talking about how big of a nest egg.
Right.
And the question is, how much do you need?
Mhm.
And we're reverse engineering it to the lifestyle you're trying to pay for. And we've talked about, do you use a really conservative rule like, well, I need a nest egg big enough that I only take 4% out of it and that will sustain me. It's a much bigger number to reach than if you use the Dave Ramsey recommendation of 8%. But I'm going to throw a curveball at Matt because it's not in his notes.
I guessed well at the break, didn't I?
No, if you want to know, go watch the live stream. It's still on YouTube. It's up there, and you could see what Matt said. It'll be somewhere at about minute 47 or so, where I'm just like, you don't say that. But here we are. So Matt, what did I propose?
You proposed basically when things are good, take a little more, and when things are bad, take a little less.
Yeah, it's a hybrid approach that starts with the idea that you can take a little bit higher amount and it adjusts lower as you age. The most expensive years, like let's say people are retiring at 65, and that's just because a lot of people choose that around Medicare and they're in the window of Social Security is a fairly traditional time that you can adopt, that you can do that.
Yeah, the chances of
Some
them-
younger, some not, but like that's a good common number. At 65, 30-year lifespan possible, but not as probable actuarially,
Mhm.
right? You've got to live to 95. So 4% is really conservative at age 65. You could find that you end up having a lot of money left over that you could have spent and didn't.
Right.
So spend a little more in your 60s and 70s where we still have some gas in the tank.
Are you encouraging people to party it up
I
in their
think
60s?
In
a
not
little
so
bit.
many words, I'm kind of saying that.
Okay, so that Europe trip might be a reality.
I'm saying that if
Maybe.
you're going to spend more,
Hmm.
that's a good time to do it because the theory is your best years are now.
Hmm.
Your health is a wild card. It doesn't mean you will not have your health later, but everybody taps out at some point. And so every day that you wait is a chance that your health becomes an issue. So it's a
Yeah.
different game.
Sure.
So those experiences, well, when you first retire, there's a joke. Every day is Saturday. Right? So it costs a little bit more at first. So anticipate some of that and know that you're going to spend a little bit more in those years. And then as you slow down, the spending should slow down. And what would disrupt that would be a medical event that required spending. It's usually a medical care event. If you have a long-term care need that's prolonged, that's what can get expensive and drain the tank. But guess what? At that point, you're not spending it doing all of the things anymore because you're not capable of doing them, right? If you're requiring care at that point, you're not climbing Kilimanjaro. You're not taking the trip to Paris. Those things become too difficult.
Sure.
So I think it's relevant to look at variable rates of return. And this is where a planner really can help you because if you've got a planning relationship rather than just a transactional relationship, this is what stockbrokers didn't do this the same way. But the planning relationship, And again, you can DIY this, but it's nice to have somebody else to help keep you objective and grounded. Right?
Absolutely.
Somebody that's got some clinical detachment from the decision to help make sure that you're walking this path. And it doesn't have to be us. Yeah, it's our show and we kind of throw our phone number out and stuff. But if you've got somebody that you like and trust that can do this, great. Okay. But the variable return, it involves recalibrating each year.
That's a smart tactic,
Right. So
because
you're in an accumulation phase. You're trying to get to the number that makes sense for the lifestyle you want. As you're approaching it, you start to recalibrate what's the lifestyle that we can achieve.
can I tell you a true story?
Yes.
Okay. So at our firm we have this software called Asset Map, right? And so
Which is, you can get this for free, by the way. If you want to go to our website, it's actually there.
Mhm. I was doing an annual review for someone recently, and I've been dealing with these people, for like 5 years. Wonderful people and very frugal. And I was watching, and I can think back 5 years ago doing this asset map, and the funding percentage, it was like, well, they're 102% funded. And so it's one of those things where it's
Yeah.
like,
It's
oh,
projecting the probability that
Yeah.
they'll be successful.
correct.
So it
And
says they're going to make it, but it's not like 140% or something.
Yep. Okay. So fast forward to their annual review 5 years later. Extremely frugal, like hardly buying clothes frugal. The
Yeah.
plan went to 150% in 5 years. So it's like they were super frugal and their plan dynamics completely shifted. I'm over here like, hey, please spend more money. You want to go buy clothes? Go do it. Like
Yes.
it's by
Sometimes
all
this
means.
really does happen. By the way, we have people that, if you're not a saver, you don't run into this problem very often
Right.
because you're sitting there going, shoot, I didn't save enough. Oh, yeah. But to the natural saver, sometimes we have to say, look, you have saved for a lifetime.
Mhm.
You do not need to deny yourself. By the way, it's very hard to get somebody out of that mental framework because
Yes, it
the
is.
framework that got them there doesn't just change. But we have seen people really feel like a weight was lifted off of them to learn you have statistically, mathematically, probabilistically enough that you can do these things. I've told people things like, they're like, I don't want to travel anymore. It's too hard. It's too rough. It's just hard. I mean, go, if you were traveling first class, would it change your opinion? And they're like, well, yeah, I mean, the seats would be more comfortable. I probably would still do it. I just, and then we
Mhm.
show them, you can afford to do it this way.
Yeah.
And they just, the light bulb comes on like, you're kidding. It's like, no, I'm not the person that can do that.
It's not uncommon for
You
that to
are.
bring people to tears. Like
We've had it happen.
a lot. Yeah.
So there you have it, Matt. I'm now going to call the vote. We have three options. We have the Dave Littlejohn. I don't think that's really mine, but we'll say we have the 4% distribution rule,
Mm-hmm.
8% distribution rule, or the variable distribution rule.
I love to try and disagree. It's my favorite thing on this show is to be able to take the opposite view. However,
Yeah, the sky is blue. No, it's cloudy.
Yeah. However, today I have to agree because whenever I'm doing plans and working an asset map with people, I'm saying that too, where it's like, hey, it says this static amount, but there's going to be years like look at the last 3 years. The market's been up 20%, and then the next year it's up, so it's like on series of really good years. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
open up the checkbook a little bit more and hey, if it's down a bunch one year, well, tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah. So
Adapt,
Exactly.
adapt or die.
I'm going to give you guys a hint here for everybody. We keep talking about the asset map. This is something that you can personally go do. We have a link to it through our website. If you go to littlejohnfs.com, there's a few tabs up there, and one of them is called strategic planning. You click on the strategic planning tab and scroll down. You'll see where it says asset map. There's a little video. You can kind of learn about it and just see how it works. And then there's also a button below that will allow you to launch a secure portal where you don't have to give away any personally identifiable information. No account numbers, no birthdays or social, none of that stuff. But you could build an asset map, and then what it'll do is we can send it to you. Okay. And so I'm making the offer is if you would like one of these, you do not have to become a client. You can, just go enter the data and we'll send it to you. You can see what we're talking about.
You know what else people can do on that website? They can chat or email if they are interested in the upcoming will and trust seminar.
That's true. We do have to promote that a little bit more. If you are trying to figure out, should I get a will? What about a trust? What does that even mean? What happens to my stuff if I die? Who can help me? We're giving a class.
It's
And-
radically expensive, however.
Yeah. The class is free, but we have only so many seats. So
It's
we're
true.
still, we promoted a little bit last week just on the radio. It's going to be kind of going out, to the rest of our people. So, but if you want this, go sign up. Go email info@littlejohnfs.com. Again, this is August 20th. It's going to be from about 6 to 8 p.m. I know it's dinner time, but we didn't want people to have to try to cut out from
Will
work
we
early.
have some cookies and juice or
There'll be snacks and stuff. But,
Okay.
you can also call the office if you want to learn more. 541-375-0898.
There's not many seats left to this thing.
I think there's a couple,
Yeah.
but it's getting full. So
All right.
just try to, get signed up if you want to. If you got other questions, give us a shout. But that's kind of the biggie for the day. Now you know the shortcut. If you multiply your income need by 25, you're going to be close to the nest egg that you need, and then we can work with it from there. But
That's right.
we're out of time for now, so I guess we better run. Matt, thanks as always.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
All right, I'm Dave Littlejohn.
And Matt Dixon.
You've been listening to True Wealth on News Radio 93.9 FM and 1240 KQEN.